What's up, otakus? It's a Friday night, and Roger and I have connected. We're gonna go over an update on our little project here to press out and clean my books. So yeah, Roger, why don't you just walk us through what's happened so far?
Okay. Let's talk about the 100 pages. Hello, everybody. If you're seeing this afterwards, the 100 pager that you sent me. It's a very nice color strike. The integrity of the book is pretty good. It's got a little bit of the split down here, but I might be able to put a little glue on there afterwards and kind of tone that down, but we'll talk about that another day. The book has this wave that goes through the whole book, 100 pages, including the cover. So I already pressed it, the front side, so I could get it flatter, so I could clean it a little better. It's come out okay. There's a little foxing over here on this edge. And Otaku and I have discussed it, and the only way to get that out would be like to wet clean it, and because it's a square round book, it's kind of a little risky. So it's not that prominent. So probably a good decision, I think, to just dry clean it and press this flat.
Yeah.
The back cover does have its issues. It does have a bit of a wave. Of course, the wave goes through the whole comic, right? But there's a water stain.
Yep.
If you see over there by Kid Eternity, or actually by the Ray's feet, you can see the little bit of the water stain. Those are the minerals from the water that are left behind. And there is some black residue there. I'm not sure if that's ink transfer, or hopefully it's not mold. I don't think it is. I've minimized it, but I've still got to work on that a little bit. But Otaku says he's not too concerned about it. But this will be pressed flat eventually. It's going to need at least another 2 pressings, maybe 3, because it is a 100 pager. This thing is a honking book here. I have a 100 pager that I've put with it so that to make sure that it's spaced together. I have a spacer I put in there so that the spine doesn't crush. Spine is pretty square.
Nice.
And we're going to keep it that way if all goes well. Now, Otaku.
Yeah.
Put ourselves back on the both of us
right.
for a minute. I want to talk to you about this Hulk 271 that you sent me.
Okay.
All right. This thing is a wreck. I don't even know what to say about it. I don't think we can sugarcoat it too much, right? The bottom staple is popped.
Oh no, okay.
Yep. When I opened it, I noticed right off the bat the bottom staple is popped. But the good thing is it does have enough of a chad left. I think I can reposition the staple over that.
Okay.
Just don't be reading this thing much, you know.
Yeah.
All right. It has chipping. Let me show.
Yeah.
Let me show a little bit of the chipping on the top and the bottom. It's really strange how this occurred, right? I don't know what they did to this comic, but it's got a lot of creasing. The paper is kind of weak, and I think that's why it's so chipped.
Yeah.
And obviously, it wasn't stored anywhere in any good way. The spine is very ragged. Down here, it's got a little cut down here where the staple is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you remember the tape that was in the front, right?
Yeah.
No longer there, my friend.
You got it off?
I got that. I had to.
Wow.
I had to get the tape off because I experimented with pressing, not with this comic, with another comic that had tape, and it was a mess. I mean, essentially the glue starts to melt into it, and I left the one on the bottom because that's a little trickier to get off. There's a lot of color there.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Wow.
I think that'll be okay. I'm going to press it a little bit lower heat. Okay. If you'll note, it's going to be hard to see in the camera, but there's a little bit of discoloration or something.
Okay.
It's
no, but
very
that
hard
looks
to tell.
much better without the tape. Oh my
Doesn't it?
goodness. Yeah.
And because you have the tape on the bottom, you don't need the tape on the top.
Okay.
It's the integrity is there, but for whatever reason, this cover is very ragged, like weak, ragged kind of. So you have to be very careful how you clean this thing.
Yeah.
I had to put, a couple of, clips around it, make sure and put pressure down while I clean it. I always wash my hands. I don't use gloves because I like to feel the comic, and I don't have oily hands anyway. It is wider already. Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
It is wider. I had to put 2 of these suckers through it, 2 of the absorbing balls on there to get some of that, whatever that stuff. I don't know what it was on there. It's like, I'm not sure if it was dirt or ink transfer, but it was nasty, whatever it was. Okay. The back cover looks a lot better.
Yeah.
I got this pretty spot on.
Nice.
All right. You saw how this perimeter was. I got pictures. I'm going to put it on Instagram before and after once I get done with these things, right?
Yeah.
I took pictures of everything before. So it's going to present better to Taku, but I'm not a miracle worker. I mean,
yeah.
It
was in bad shape. Yeah.
This is in bad shape. Yeah. What's weird is that chipping is only on the front cover, nothing on the back. So maybe when it was stored, I was thinking maybe they had something that cut into it. It's the only thing I can think of because it's on every edge. Top, there's less on the opening edge, but still some, and on the spine as well. There's some cuts in there.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It is
really weird. I've never seen, around the whole perimeter chipping like that.
Yeah. And then the person went to the trouble of taping it for some reason to preserve
let's
it.
just tape the cover. Why not? But I think what happened is that the tape, after a while, the acid that's in there starts to. It looks like it's discolored just a bit.
Yeah.
But if you would have left it on there, much like it probably would have gone yellow. And
yeah. I'm curious, how did you remove the tape? Did you apply heat or did you use like some kind of solution? What was the process there?
Yeah. I tried with heat at first, right? But it didn't see. You see, the thing with the tape is that you don't want to lose any of the, if you obviously none of the graphics, you don't want any rips, anything like that. So if you're not absolutely sure about that, leave it, right? So I have the solution called Bestine, which is a thinner, right? But it doesn't affect the color of the cover. So you put it on, I put it right around the edges of the tape, let it soak in there for like 5 minutes. And then just gradually with, a spudger, you work on it. You don't want to scrape it. You want to, you get the little serrated edge and you start flipping it. You put more of the Bestine under so that the glue is dissolved as you pull it.
Wow.
It took probably half an hour to get that off because you have to just go by little, very, very tiny increments.
Wow, you're a surgeon. Oh my goodness.
Well, not quite, but, and then it was taped all the way to the edge. So I had to clamp that to make sure that when I'm lifting it, I'm not, because the paper is so weak, I wanted to make sure it didn't rip it anymore. But it came off beautifully, thank God. But it does have that little discoloration there under where the tape was. But
that's fine. Yeah.
I mean, considering the defects of this book, that's a very minor point. But
your thoughts on the book? So it has chipping, it has all the things, but
yeah,
like in terms of its presentation, right? The chipping isn't all that, like it's it still presents well, right? It's not like
I mean,
a gross book to look at.
The chipping on the bottom is very jagged, and that's kind of,
Yeah.
turn off a little bit. The one on the
Mhm.
top, I think when I press it and those little uplifted chads flatten, it won't look too bad. But there's pieces missing from the bottom. There's not much we can do about that.
Yeah.
But once I get this, I'm going to press this once, come back, clean it again, because again, the paper is weak. I want to get it flat so that when I come across it with an eraser or with an absorbing sponge, it doesn't catch. I was very worried about that.
Yeah.
Right? And then once I clean it again, if necessary, I'll give it another quick press, cold press it for a night, and it's gonna be flat. I think I can rescue that staple. The back cover is what I'm really proud of. That's gonna look great. I wish the back was the front, because,
Yeah.
but it's
What's
gonna
up,
look
Comic Man Musings?
it's gonna look a lot more presentable. Hey, Bill, how you doing, buddy? I don't see the chat here on the StreamYard. I'm sorry, but so let me know if anybody has any questions or anything. Okay, so the Superman 100-pager, that thing is going to look pretty good. It's going to get flattened. The Hulk's going to be improved quite a bit, but you can only put so much makeup on a pig and make it pretty.
No, so far I think I'm really that tape, because I was like, okay, I had the reservations of even sending the book because we were concerned about the tape and it going in the press, and
yes, I was,
and all that. But the fact that you got it off was just, that to me is like incredible. So, wow. Wonderful.
Yeah. I experimented with a wreck of a comic I had, and when I saw what was happening and that glue kind of, it kind of oozing out a little bit, I was like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Now I could have put it maybe lower heat, less, maybe that would be okay. But the way the tape was, I was fairly confident I could get it out without any kind of problems, especially because it has tape on the bottom. So that part was not as concerning because I knew there was a little bit of a buffer there.
Nice.
But it still took a long time just to make sure. I mean, I was looking, I was like, if there's so much as any white on this tape, but no, it came out without any loss at all. Right?
That is amazing.
Okay, so you have two others, which I don't have here because they're in the press. So let's talk about those.
Yeah.
You have the Superman with that alien lady,
Yeah.
you see her at the back side.
Let's save that one for last. Let's go with the Iron Man first. Yeah.
Iron Man. Okay. Iron Man 150. One of my favorite issues. I have a copy myself. As I recall, there's a couple issues. There are some creases. True. It wasn't that dirty. As far as soiling goes, the up where the price box and the where his icon is, right? Okay, so there was some kind of, it didn't look like dirt to me, honestly. It looked like some kind of transfer, from who knows when. I got that much lighter.
Oh, okay.
I got that much lighter. You can barely tell it's on the blue where the Iron Man is up there. You can barely tell, just a little bit left there, because I'm going to be cleaning that again. But I didn't want any color loss, so I wanted to be very careful about getting stuff there. Hey, Kenneth. What else was there? There was some kind of, on the interior cover, there was another particle, some kind of foreign debris. I got that off, no problem. What else? Staples were pretty good. I don't think there was any problems with the staples. Were pretty tight on that, thank God. The black cover, of course, shows every little crease and everything. There's a few color breaking ones, but I think the bottom right had a corner crease there, right?
Yep. Yeah. About like I'd say half an inch, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds about right. You have to be very careful when cleaning corners when there are creases like that, because that paper has been weakened.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I clamp it on both sides and go very gently. Use a very soft eraser, right? Not on the black, but I'm saying, if it's a white and you're erasing, you have to use a very soft eraser. Otherwise, you can use, again, the Absorbine. Get it nice and soft. Make sure that this is not crumbly, because it'll start to stick to the pages. And you can also, your best friend are these makeup pads that my wife has, which I've commandeered for this project. There's a big pile of them right here. Taku, of all the stuff that I've gotten off for you. But that will get off, just the surface stuff, and then you start getting a little bit deeper. But that Iron Man is going to come out pretty well, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't see any major problems with that. It wasn't wavy exactly, but there were just some very light indentations. I don't think there was that. That's going to look very nice. I think that's going to look very nice.
That's good to hear. Yeah, because again, with the black cover, I wasn't. There's only so much you could do. It's going to maintain the issues, like you said, the color breaking creases aren't going to go away even with a good press. But I wasn't sure what we could do with that in terms of improvement. But listening to you, it sounds like there's quite a bit that you've improved already. So thank you.
It'll improve. Definitely that upper left-hand corner was going to look a lot better. What's Bill saying? Why did Roger specify the makeup pads were from his wife? There's no judgment here. Listen, with a mug like this, if you think I would wear makeup, come on. We're not going to improve this no matter what you put on it. All right. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's going to come out pretty well. I think probably one press for that will do it, but we'll see. Again, it's. I put it in this morning. I'll get it out tomorrow, probably midday. Give it a perusal and then evaluate whether it needs another.
Yeah, what's interesting is we were on less than a week ago. We jumped on, I think, was it Saturday? Correct. Yeah, and I sent the book out, I think, or actually it was a week ago when we connected. So we connected this time last week, Friday night online.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And I sent you the books the very next morning. You got them yesterday.
Right.
And you started working on them. And now, we're practically exactly 1 week out. And I think you're close to, being done with these. So that's an incredible turnaround time. I
got them yesterday, I think, early afternoon. And I had finished with my work by then, my paid work. And my wife had meetings up until the night. So I had a lot of good time to sort of just dig into them.
Awesome.
I only worked on the 100-pager almost exclusively yesterday. I think I worked a little bit on the Iron Man as well. And then this morning, I worked on the other Superman and the Hulk. I got, again, when I say work on, there's still a lot of work to do, Kotaku. I mean, you sort of, when you look at this, you're sort of evaluating as you're cleaning, as you're looking through them, you're evaluating what your plan of attack is. And sometimes you clean it, but it can get cleaner, but you don't want to risk damaging the comic in its current condition. So you want a press will sometimes by itself allow you to get to areas that you'd be uncomfortable cleaning it initially just because of the waviness or the weakness of the paper. So I'll be finished like Monday. Okay. Is my best estimation.
Wow, still that's
Yeah.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get to the Superman. This one is, I think, when we were initially looking at the books, you said we agreed this probably had the best potential for like just an upgrade
Right.
overall, like improvement.
Right.
What's your assessment now that you've seen the book and you worked with it?
Yeah, the big issue with that one, as you know, is it has a lot of deep creases, from all the way to the left of the cover to almost 3/4 of the way to the right. Vertical creases almost throughout the whole comic. And again, it's a lot of white in that cover, so you can clean a lot of it. That's the good thing, right? When you have long vertical creases like that, you have to be careful how you're cleaning. You have to clean this way. You know, sometimes you're like, oh, no, don't go side to side on that, because it's so weak you could actually just rip the cover in half.
Perhaps. Yeah.
So again, you have to clamp it, put pressure. You have to be very patient when it's something like that. You have to. Sometimes you're like, oh, man, I want to get to that part. I want to go like this, But no, you have to look at it as if, what the comic is fragile at that point, very fragile. But I'd say that the whites are going to get much better. The creases are pretty deep, but as I explained, sometimes when you're pressing it kind of joins, the fissures a little bit. So it's not completely, but sometimes it will at least make it present a little bit better. Just close the gap just a teeny tiny bit. I'm hoping that's what happens. There was as I explained to you before off camera, there was some kind of particle on the top over the subtitle part, and I got that off, but when I was cleaning that area, there was something over that. There was another unseen kind of film or something that was on there, and it ripped off a little bit of the black. Very tiny part. It didn't rip it off. I mean, it just sort of, it took it with it, essentially. Mm-hmm. But the back cover also was pretty bad shape, as I recall. But I got that much cleaner. I think it had some kind of overspray right at the top middle of the back, like a pink or red. I think I got some of that off. I'm going to keep working on that. What else? It is a bigger comic. It is a thicker comic than normal. I think, what is it? 48, 52. I forgot what it was. So again, you have to be careful when you put it in the press, not too much pressure. Although it's saddle stitched, it's not square bound. So you have to be careful where you put the spacer for the staples, mm-hmm. so that you don't press the staples into the comic. But I think that's going to come out much better. I think it's going to present much better, for sure, than all those creases. It may need another couple presses depending on the results I get tomorrow, but we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Mm-hmm. That book, so I don't know what the process is for getting the paper, damp, or, using, I guess, a humidifier to get the paper somewhat damp. But that, I would imagine, with the deep creases on that book, that's something that would need to be applied in order for the press to really get those deep creases out.
Oh yeah. Before you press any comic, hot press it. If you're hot pressing it, if you're cold pressing it, you don't need humidity, right? But when you're applying heat to a comic, it needs to be humid, because you're going to be, well, several reasons, right? First of all, you want the paper to be supple so that it will regain the shape that the press is going to have on it. So flattening, right? That's the main thing. And for that, you have to have the fibers be pliable. I use a humidity chamber. Now you can use a humidity chamber and leave it there for many hours and it'll have the same effect, maybe a little better effect. I use a double filtered, just boiled water in a chamber. And then I put the covers about 6 inches above it, above a grid for 2 minutes.
Wow.
Sealed, hermetically sealed for 2 minutes. And at that point, the paper is very, very weak. So, I use 2 hands to move the grid out. And then I put it on my evaluation table where I have some sheets already there, clean sheets. And then I put the spacers in. For your 100-pager, I use, my wife is legally blind, so she has Braille paper, really thick stuff. And I put that on the inside covers. And unlike a backing board, which is a little thicker, for a 100-pager, you have to be careful because it could lift that spine when you press it. Even that little indentation between the square bound and where the backer board is can lift that spine. So that paper is thick, but it's not anywhere near as thick as a backing board, and it protects the staples from impressing upon that cover. That's all it's there for. For normal 32-page or 36-page comic, you can put a backer board in the middle to space out the staples, and probably you can get away with a thin backer board under the front and back cover. No, not anymore. That's for sure. What else? Yeah. So, I mean, it's all, a lot of it is just common sense, but a lot of it is trial and error. And like I said, I've been doing this for 6 months and I've learned a lot in that time. I've been pressing almost every day for 6 months.
Yeah.
So
You've probably come across every issue that, that there is. What are some of the really tough, challenging, I guess, within the context of these books, you've already expressed there were some challenges there.
Sure.
But what are some of those, like, like a book that you would look at and say, maybe we don't try this one because of the challenge?
Yeah, there are several of those. It also depends on what you're going for, right? What your results want to be, what your goals are. Hey Matt, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, mustache growing back, no problems. By the time you see me in a few weeks, hopefully, we're hopefully gonna meet up at a convention in Ocala here in a couple of weeks.
Oh, nice.
It'll be fully grown. The staples is where you have to be very careful. If the spine is weak and the staples are barely hanging on, you got to really consider the results of pressing there, even with the precautions of putting a backer board spacer, putting less pressure. It could still go wrong. It could still go south.
Yeah.
So, those I'm kind of hesitant to. I mean, there are a lot of people that are better at this than I am that know exactly how to set the press so that won't happen, but I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Older comics.
I was just about to say, yeah.
Yeah, Golden Age comics. There is a two-edged sword there. They're actually sturdier overall than modern comics. They can take more heat, they can take more pressure. Their integrity is a bit better, right? However, because they're so old, because the pulp is sometimes so old, they dry out quicker. So if there's any kind of brittleness to it, I would advise against it.
Yeah.
Unless you do a wet cleaning and deacidify it first.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's something I'm not practiced at yet. So I stick to dry cleaning. I've done some of it, right, for my own comics, things like that, but I'm not nearly, like Jerry and Mike Night Tiger. They're much better at it than I am.
Right. Like you mentioned, I think what the older comics, they're so brittle. Sometimes the press is the worst thing you want to do to that book. Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you dry them out more, the problem there, and this happened to me on one of my earlier presses, it's that the spine, when it dries out, it'll crack like a nut. I mean, It just will start cracking, and it'll just keep cracking. Yeah. Like like an earthquake. Have you seen those movies where you see the crack keep going? Hey, Damien, how you doing?
Everybody's here.
But if it's not that brittle, if you hydrate it correctly, and you press it, you have to be careful about how long you keep it in there as well. You don't want to overdo it. Like something that's golden age, I probably wouldn't keep it in there more than 25 minutes, just to be safe. And then, of course, you can always repress it. But
yeah,
go
ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, like bronze comics, to me are like the easiest ones to press, because they're generally not brittle. They generally have very good integrity, and generally speaking, they are not stuff. Just some of these old ones are just they're just acid bombs. But the Bronze Age ones generally have pretty good integrity. I've had really good results with a lot of my Bronze Age comics, which I've had since a kid, which I didn't treat that well.
Yeah.
I'm very confident with Golden Age, with Bronze Age comics, pretty confident with Silver Age. Golden Age, I'm very careful about.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right. Well, I'm just so glad that, my books are being treated by a master surgeon. I'm using the medical analogy because we really are resuscitating life into these books.
Right.
I think you mentioned before, that some of these books aren't in they're in terrible condition, which, I think all of them are pretty much low grade, but the hope is we get them back just looking better, presenting a little better. And again, I just can't believe you got that tape off the Hulk.
Right.
That is incredible.
Right. That was a bit of a challenge, but I mean, it's not my first rodeo when it comes to tape, but the thing is that every comic is sort of a different animal, right? I mean, they've been stored differently, they've been treated differently, they've aged differently depending on the environment. But I would say your 100-pager is probably, I wouldn't say it's low grade, but it's a VG or so, VG plus maybe. But I like that you trusted me with this, Utaku. And it's an honor, honestly, to work on comics like this that, we're going to make them, sometimes people look at this Hulk, right? And they're like, I don't want anything to do with this thing. It is a wreck, right? But somebody loved this comic book. Somebody out there at some point loved this comic book and read it and thought enough of it to put tape on it. I know that seems, counterproductive to what a lot of people think today, right? But I look at it from that perspective. And like you said, it's is it going to be, even a mid-grade? Probably not. But is it going to be much more presentable? And you're still going to have a first Rocket Raccoon in comics. That's going to be, hopefully I can get that staple back in. It's going to be all together. And you can present this back there on in your shelf. You can, show it someday on Cover Slingers or something, whatever. It'll be there for you.
Yeah, that's exactly what we hope to do. I guess one thing we didn't mention is like your thoughts on what the grades, obviously you have a good idea of what the grades are, but your thoughts on maybe the improvement, whether they'll go up up a notch, or if just in terms of just presentation, they'll improve. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, like I said, I think the 100-pager, I think that's going to be much flatter. I'm not sure what the grade knockdown would be for that kind of foxing or all that, and that water stain, but definitely that front cover is going to look pretty good. Not perfect, but it's going to look pretty darn good. So yeah, it's a wraparound cover, and a square bound, which we talked about, which makes no sense, right? But it is what it is, right? But I think that's a solid VG right there. Everyone looks at me funny. I think that's a solid VG. I don't think you can go a little bit much more than that because of the issues on the back cover. But that's going to be a beautifully looking comic there, that with that Neil Adams cover. The Hulk, I don't think you can call this better than a good under any circumstances. It's just got so many defects with that rip and that chipping and the tape on the inside cover. The interior actually looks pretty good, by the way. I did look through it to see if there was anything I needed to do in there. I don't see anything wrong with the interior. That's weird, right? Because the exterior is just such a wreck, but the interior, I don't really see much at all wrong with it.
Yeah. And the back cover, you clean it up really nice. I think like you mentioned, the back cover's pretty nice as well.
Pretty good. Yeah. Pretty good. Especially how it was before. Mm-hmm. Again, the edges are a little ragged on the spine. Mm-hmm. Not a little ragged. They're
very, yeah.
They're not very, but it's ragged. You can tell, right?
Yeah.
So I think a good would be, I think we've improved it from, a fair to a good, maybe.
Nice. Okay, that works.
Of course, there is that tape, which I think with tape it doesn't go more than a good anyway. But now that Superman and the Iron Man, I have to see it out of the first press first to give you a better evaluation. But I'd say the Superman probably is good, very good, if we can get that flattened, and I don't see any other reason why that shouldn't be a good, very good. So maybe we bumped it half a grade.
Nice.
The Iron Man, it was probably a very good already, maybe a little bit better than that. I think we can get it to a very good fine, maybe.
Oh, okay. That's nice to hear.
Yeah, I don't think those creases are so bad that it would knock it down more than a 4 or 5 or a 5. So mm-hmm. I'm not a big grading guy, so I'm sure somebody out there's like, oh, well, that can't be on a 5. So I'm just giving you my, estimation here.
Yeah. No. So I'll take a mid-grade.
All right. So let's recap. For the 100-pager, I say that's a very good. All right. Maybe a little bit better, but I think those defects on the back are really going to hold it back. If it was just the front, that could be a very good F as well. The Hulk, I think good is about as, pray that we get it to that juncture, okay? Because this thing is yeah, it's problematic here. The Superman with the alien lady, the back posterior shot. I think that's a good, very good. That there's so much creasing. I don't think we can go above that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's maybe a little bit liberal, but we'll see what happens when it comes out of the press. And I think that Iron Man, I think we can get that to a better than a very good, maybe a very good fine.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Roger. Well, thank you so much for doing this and hopping on tonight.
Sure.
I really appreciate it. And I'll just when we get the books back, we'll jump on again and we'll talk over all the final results, and I'll kind of zoom in on all the work you did, and we'll go over it when it's all said and done.
Yep. I did take pictures of all the comics prior to me working on them. So I will, once I finish, in my mind, I'm finished with one of them, I will post the before and after.
Nice. Yeah.
And tag you, of course. But there's only so much you can see from a picture, and since you had these before, you're gonna be able to do a much more contemporaneous kind of evaluation, even because that you had them a little more than a week ago. I mean, your memory's probably good on them. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know every little. Well, not the interior so much, but in terms of the exterior, I know every little sort of issue that there was. So.
Okay. Well, good. Good.
Know. All right, Roger. Have a great weekend. Get some rest, and again, let's connect sometime. Whenever I get the books back, we'll come back online.
We'll do. And I'll probably hit you up on private Instagram, like maybe Monday or something, and give you if I do finish, and then I'll give you a final evaluation. And I'll send them out hopefully Tuesday.
Wonderful. Yeah, that'd be great. Again, don't rush it. If you need more time, take all the time you need. But again, if you can send it back quick, that's good too.
Bill, no.
Coverless one.
No. We're not
going. Bill,
we're not going.
Bill's the one who suggested that we cut the tape out. Look, we got the tape thing resolved.
We got the tape out. I mean, it's going to look a lot better. I mean, let me put it this way: it was embarrassing the way it was. Right. It's going to be just, hey, that kind of uncle that sometimes is embarrassing, but often brings presents.
Yeah.
So it's going to have some upside. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. No, I'm again, the tape thing just makes me so happy. I was like, I mean, not to say it was like the worst thing that you could do to a comic, but it was just so irritating for me. But to have it off and it looking so clean, already way above my expectations. So thank you again.
Oh no, yeah, my pleasure. It's so much fun to work on these comics, especially for you, because I know what kind of passion you have for Neil Adams and these characters and these comics. So to me, it's a thrill, honestly. So that's just the way I look at it.
Yeah, it's this whole process has been just really great. So I'm looking forward to getting to the end of it.
All right.
Good night, Roger.
All right. Good night, Bill,
everybody.
Damian, Matt, if you're still on, and of course, Otaku.
All right. Take care, everybody.
All right. Good night.
See you
Take
next
care.
one.